The entire conference room on the 49th floor went silent as the screen flashed in red. Chief Executive Officer Elena Hart knowingly concealed the deaths of 43 trial patients. Elena stood between two rows of black leather chairs, pale but upright. Beyond the glass walls, the city glittered as if nothing were happening, as if in 10 minutes she would not lose her company, her honor, and the name her father had spent his life building. The chief financial officer slid a folder across the marble table. "The board has prepared your resignation," she said calmly. "Sign it before the police arrive." Then the door opened. A delivery man stepped inside, rain dripping from his coat, a crushed box of documents held tightly against his chest. Security moved at once, but he did not resist. He was not looking at Elena. He was staring at the verification codes in the bottom corner of the projected report. For the first time, his expression changed. That report didn't come from the real system. Every head in the room turned. No one knew his name. No one remembered that 12 years ago, Elena Hart had paid for his sister's surgery when no hospital would take her. And no one in that room knew that the soaked, silent delivery man understood that verification system well enough to recognize the lie hiding inside it. For a moment, only the rain could be heard. It fell from the delivery man's coat in small drops, tapping against the marble floor between the table and the door. No one in the room looked at the floor. They looked at him as if he had stepped into a place where people like him were not meant to have a voice. The security chief caught his arm. "Sir, you need to leave." The man did not fight him. He only kept staring at the projected report. Vanessa Klein, Hartwell Biologics' chief financial officer, turned from Elena with slow irritation. Her gray suit was perfect. Her voice was even more perfect. "Who let him in?" The board secretary checked her tablet. "Courier delivery from Mason and Greer Legal. Evidence package for the emergency session." "Then he has delivered it," Vanessa said. "Remove him." Elena raised one hand. It was a small motion, but the room obeyed it. "Wait." Vanessa's eyes sharpened. "Elena, this is a criminal matter. Do not let a courier contaminate the record." Elena did not answer her. She looked at the man near the door. "What did you see?" The delivery man swallowed. His face was wet from the storm, thin with exhaustion, but his eyes stayed on the lower right corner of the screen. "The code," he said. "That prefix is wrong." A board member gave a quiet laugh. "You can read clinical trial evidence from a shipping label?" The man said nothing to him. Elena turned to the secretary. "Zoom in." The screen enlarged. Beneath the accusation, beneath Elena's digital signature, a small string appeared. HB-LX43-draft-0217-ECO. The delivery man pointed without coming closer. "Final mortality reports don't carry draft in the export line. Not from the trial registry. That's an internal working prefix." A compliance officer frowned. "Draft tags can remain during emergency compilation." "They can," the man said. "But not like this." Vanessa folded her hands. The report was exported under emergency compliance override. Miss Hart authorized it. The words struck Elena harder than the red sentence on the screen. Her own company. Her own system. Her own name, placed neatly beneath 43 deaths. "What is your name?" she asked. The man hesitated. "Min Tran." "Mr. Tran," Vanessa said, stepping toward him. "Do you have any authority to interpret confidential clinical records?" "No." "Have you ever been employed by Hartwell Biologics?" "No." "Then this ends now." Security started pulling him back. Elena should have allowed it. Every lawyer in the building would have told her to say nothing, touch nothing, trust the official process. But something about the report had bothered her from the first second. Not the accusation, the signature. The final stroke in Hart was too long. It looked copied, not written. "1 minute," Elena said. Vanessa stared at her. "You are making a mistake." I said 1 minute. Min looked at the timestamp under the code. The export happened at 2:17 in the morning. The secretary zoomed in again. 2:17 and 43 seconds in the morning. Min spoke more quietly now, but the room had grown still enough to hear him. Certified mortality exports are locked outside the 6 to 6 compliance window, unless 2 live accounts approve an emergency override. 1 from clinical compliance, 1 from the executive office. The compliance officer leaned forward. Vanessa said, "Which is exactly what happened." Min shook his head, then opened the approval metadata. Vanessa's calm cracked by a fraction. "Absolutely not." Elena turned to the secretary.
No.
"Open it." The secretary hesitated, then touched the tablet. A side panel appeared on the screen. Export path, approval chain, override note, account identification code, HK-7741-compliance-archive. The compliance officer went pale. Elena saw it. What is that? Vanessa answered too quickly. A legacy compliance account. Archive retrieval. Min looked at the account identification code. Archive accounts don't approve live death reports. The room went silent again. This silence was different. The first had been judgment. This one was doubt. The compliance officer removed his glasses. That account should have been disabled after the system migration. Elena slowly faced Vanessa. When? The officer answered before Vanessa could. Years ago. Vanessa gave a small, controlled smile. Legacy systems are messy. This proves nothing except that an unauthorized man is speculating about architecture he does not understand. Min lowered his eyes. For a second, he looked less like a man making an accusation and more like someone remembering a wound. I understand enough, he said, to know a dead account cannot create a living approval. No one laughed this time. Then the crushed box in his arms sagged. One wet corner tore open. Sealed folders slid forward, and a delivery receipt fluttered out onto the floor. Elena bent before Vanessa could move. The receipt was damp, the ink blurred at the edge. But the tracking line across the middle was still clear. HB-LX 43- draft-0217-ECO. The same code, the same timestamp, the same lie. Elena placed the receipt on the table. Her hand no longer trembled. This box came from outside counsel, she said. The secretary nodded weakly. That is what the intake record says. Elena looked at the screen, then at the receipt, then at Vanessa. If the report was generated inside our system, why is the same draft code printed on a courier receipt before this meeting even began? For the first time that night, Vanessa did not answer immediately. Min stood near the door, still held by security, rainwater darkening the carpet beneath his shoes. He did not look victorious. He looked frightened by how much he had just seen. Elena understood then that someone had not simply discovered evidence against her. Someone had arranged for it to arrive. She turned to the guards. Let him go. The security chief released Min's arm. Elena picked up the damp receipt and set it beside the resignation folder Vanessa had prepared. Mr. Tran, she said, her voice low, you are not leaving this building yet. Outside the glass walls, lightning moved silently above the city. And inside the room, the woman everyone had already condemned stared at the poor delivery man no one had bothered to name because he had just found the first crack in the lie meant to bury her. They moved Min into a smaller room behind the board suite. It was not a cell, but it was built to feel like one. Frosted glass, a locked door, no windows, and a camera in the corner blinking with a patient green light. A security guard stood outside with both hands folded in front of him. On the table sat the crushed delivery box, now sealed inside a clear evidence bag. Min did not touch it. He sat with his wet coat still on, staring at the label through the plastic. The label said Mason and Greer Legal. The tracking route said Loading Dock B. But the corner seal did not belong to an outside law firm. It was blue. Legal courier seals were white. Blue seals belonged to Hartwell's internal compliance office. Min leaned closer, and the old instinct moved before fear could stop it. The small things always told the truth first, not the press statements, not the polished signatures. The small things, a wrong prefix, a strange timestamp, a seal color someone thought no one would notice. Outside, Hartwell Biologics was already shaking. News alerts hit every phone before public relations could respond. 43 trial patients dead, chief executive officer accused of hiding fatal data, Hartwell, under federal scrutiny. The drug at the center was Luminex 43, a biologic therapy for patients with a rare immune collapse disorder. Elena had once promised those families that Hartwell would not abandon them because their disease was too rare to be profitable. Now that promise was being replayed beneath headlines that made her look like a murderer. Around her, directors talked about exposure, stock price, and whether the resignation package could separate Hartwell from her name before regulators arrived. Vanessa Klein stayed calm. Every sentence she offered sounded like protection. Every sentence led to Elena's removal. Elena looked through the glass wall, toward the small room where they had put Min. He sat alone under white light, not like a man who had come to save anyone, more like a man who had opened a door and now wished he could close it again. Her general counsel stepped beside her. "You cannot rely on him," he said. "Even if he is right about the code, he is unauthorized. Anything he touches becomes a legal problem." Elena did not answer. She was looking at the evidence bag. "Who received the box?" The counsel checked his notes. "Loading dock intake. Logged at 8:41 in the evening. Routed upstairs at 9:06 in the evening. And before that? Standard courier transfer. Show me the chain." He hesitated just long enough for Elena to notice. "Now," she said. A junior compliance analyst brought up the intake record on a tablet. Elena took it without sitting down. The chain of custody looked clean at first glance. Pickup, transfer, loading dock, security scan, boardroom delivery. But clean records had begun to feel like clean floors after blood had been wiped away. She scrolled back. At 8:52 in the evening, the package had left loading dock B. At 8:57 in the evening, it had entered the internal legal corridor. At 9:01 in the evening, it had been marked priority compliance handling. Elena stopped. Why was an outside legal package marked for internal compliance handling? The analyst's lips parted, but no answer came. Vanessa appeared at Elena's shoulder. "Because it contained trial evidence. That is ordinary routing during a crisis." Elena looked at her. "Then why is the seal blue?" A thin pause. Vanessa glanced toward the box in the side room. "Packaging gets replaced when wet." "It was raining outside," Elena said. "Not in our legal corridor." For the first time, the junior analyst looked afraid. Elena gave the tablet back. "Pull security from loading dock B." The analyst nodded and hurried away. Vanessa lowered her voice and warned Elena that 43 families were about to see their children's names on every news feed. The words landed where she intended, but Elena also remembered Min's face when he saw the account identification code. He had not looked shocked that a system could lie. He had looked familiar with the cost. Across the hall, Min asked for a paper towel. The guard refused until Elena nodded. He dried one corner of the evidence bag carefully, then pointed to the lower flap of the box. "There," he said through the glass. Elena entered the room before counsel could stop her. The air inside smelled of wet cardboard and cold coffee. Min stood back from the table, hands visible, as if he understood that one wrong movement could be used against him. "What is it?" Elena asked. The seal was lifted and pressed down again. She looked closer. The blue strip seemed intact until Min tilted the bag under the ceiling light. A thin crescent of trapped air showed beneath the adhesive. Someone opened it? Someone tried to make it look unopened. Vanessa stepped into the doorway. Or, the rain weakened the adhesive. Min did not look at her. Rain wrinkles paper. It does not leave a clean heat line. Elena saw it then, a faint, glossy mark across the flap, too straight to be accidental. "A heat tool?" she asked. Min nodded once. Low temperature, enough to soften the adhesive without tearing the fibers. The room grew smaller around them. This was no longer only about a strange code on a report. Someone had touched the box inside Hartwell, changed its handling status, resealed it, and sent it into the boardroom at the exact moment Elena was being forced to resign. The counsel spoke from behind her. "If that is true, the document chain is compromised." Vanessa's expression remained composed. "If it is true," she said, "and at the moment, all we have is a courier's guess." Min finally looked at her. "Then check the scan weight." The analyst blinked from the doorway. "What?" "Loading dock scanner's record package weight. If the box was opened and folders were swapped, the weight may change between intake and boardroom scan." Elena turned immediately. "Pull both records." Vanessa's smile disappeared. "Not much. Just enough." The analyst ran. For the next 2 minutes, no one spoke. Elena stood beside the table. Min stood across from her, rain still dark on his sleeves. Between them sat the box that was supposed to bury her. The tablet chimed. The analyst read the numbers once, then again. At intake, the package weighed 4.82 kilograms. Elena waited. At boardroom scan, 5.11 kilograms. A difference of 290 grams. Not large. Barely the weight of a thin folder. But enough for a lie. Elena looked at the crushed box, then at the red accusation still frozen on the boardroom screen beyond the glass. The problem was no longer whether Min had seen a mistake. The problem was that the mistake had been carried into the building by hand, and somewhere inside Hartwell Biologics, someone had known exactly how heavy a false truth needed to be. Elena gave Min 20 minutes. Not trust, not belief, Only 20 minutes inside Hartwell's emergency validation room, under read-only view, with every screen recorded and every person watching. The room was narrow and cold, built for crisis review, but tonight it felt like an operating room where the patient was Elena's name. The analyst clicked. Luminex 43, Phase 3, Adverse Event Mortality Summary, Executive Approval Copy. Min pointed to the checksum column. That should match the boardroom report. The analyst placed both records side by side. The strings did not match. A small sound escaped the compliance officer. Elena heard it. What does that mean? Min answered quietly. The report used against you was not the final export from the registry. Vanessa stepped forward at once. Hash changes happen when a report is compressed, watermarked, or placed into a presentation. Min nodded. Yes, but then the export log should show a parent-child link between the source file and the presentation file. The analyst checked. The field was blank. No parent file, no child file, no clean path from source to screen. Elena looked at the missing line longer than anyone else. A blank field was not dramatic. It did not flash red. It did not accuse anyone. But in that small empty space, the first official version of the truth began to bend. Open assembly history, Min said. Vanessa's voice hardened. That is beyond the scope of this review. Elena looked at the analyst. Open it. The assembly history loaded in 3 parts. A mortality data table, an internal draft memo, an executive approval image. Min pointed to the 3rd item. There. The analyst opened it. Elena's signature appeared on the screen. For a moment, Elena forgot the room. She saw only her own name, clean and familiar, attached to a document she had never approved. At a distance, it looked real. But close up, the final stroke of heart stretched too thin, as if copied from something older and pulled across a new page. Min spoke with care. That is not a live digital approval. It is an image layer. Vanessa gave a short laugh. Executives use stored signatures. Not on mortality approval, Min said. A regulated trial package needs active credential sign-off, not a pasted image. The compliance officer moved closer to the monitor. He is right. Elena kept her eyes on the signature. Then why does the system say I approved it? The analyst opened File Properties. Created 8 years ago. Modified 3 nights ago. No migration ticket. No active credential event. No second compliance witness. Elena did not speak for several seconds. When she did, her voice had lost its tremor. 3 nights ago. Vanessa folded her arms. Old signature files are refreshed during system maintenance. Min looked at the analyst. Search for a maintenance ticket. The analyst searched. Nothing. Only the modified image, the dead approval path, and Elena's name placed exactly where it could ruin her. General Counsel rubbed his forehead. This weakens the resignation demand. Vanessa's eyes cut toward him. It weakens nothing. We still have 43 deaths. Min looked at the mortality table. Then check how those deaths were classified. Vanessa answered too fast. No patient data. Redacted identification codes only, Min said. No names. Elena hesitated. Patient privacy had been the one line she still believed Hartwell had never crossed. Then she nodded. Redacted view. The list opened. 43 patient identification codes, event dates, outcome, classification. Min scanned the rows once, then stopped at LX43, 1187. Open change history. The original classification appeared. Possible drug-related event. 3 days later, it had been changed to underlying condition progression. Vanessa exhaled. These patients were critically ill. Reclassification is normal. 1 record maybe, Min said. Open the next changed entry. The analyst did. Possible drug-related. Underlying condition progression. Another. Possible drug-related. Underlying condition progression. Another. The same shift. The same clean language. The same kind of disappearance. The compliance officer leaned toward the screen. These edits happened on Friday evening. Min nodded. End of month. The analyst checked the system calendar. That is during regional mirror sync. Min kept his voice low. Changes made during mirror sync can look like reconciliation edits, unless someone compares them to the source side log. Elena understood enough to feel the floor move beneath her. She had seen monthly reports, clean charts, softened language, every number reviewed, certified, and delivered to her by people she trusted. But the reports had not shown her this. They had shown her the polished surface after someone else had wiped the fingerprints away. Compare source side log, Elena said. The analyst opened the mirror record. A delay marker appeared beside several patient identification codes, small, almost invisible. Min pointed to it. That marker means the source record changed before the mirror accepted it, not during routine reconciliation. Before. The room went quiet. Not because everything was proven. It was not. Not yet. But because the first real result had arrived. The accusation against Elena was tied to a forged approval path, and the patient classifications beneath it had been altered in a pattern. Min stepped back from the monitor. I'm not saying the patients didn't die, he said. I'm saying someone changed how their deaths were explained. Then someone attached your name to the explanation. Elena turned toward him. Why would they do both? Min looked through the glass wall, toward the boardroom where the red accusation still glowed on the main screen. To build something strong enough to force you out before anyone could ask where it came from. A warning tone sounded from the analyst's workstation. External access request detected. The analyst stiffened. That should not happen. We're in read-only review. Another request appeared. Then another. Someone outside the room was trying to reach the same report package. Vanessa looked at the monitor, not at Elena. Min saw that. He did not accuse her. He did not have proof. Instead, he placed the damp delivery receipt beside the keyboard. Freeze the package, he said. The analyst blinked. Legal hold? All mirrors. All logs. Now. No one asked why a delivery man knew that phrase. Elena gave the order. Emergency compliance freeze. Full package. The analyst moved quickly. The wall monitor shifted from active to locked. Emergency compliance freeze initiated. Min closed his eyes for half a second. Elena noticed. It was not relief. It was the look of someone hearing an old door close before it could trap him again. For the first time, she understood that Min Tran had not simply recognized a broken system. He had survived one. By midnight, Hartwell's lawyers had taken control of the validation room. They did not say Min was wrong. They only called him a liability. Elena watched him sign a temporary witness statement, then cross out one phrase and add, I did not access the system. I observed a recorded review. Only then did he return the pen and leave through the service elevator. At 1:18 in the morning, Elena asked for his delivery file. By 2:03 in the morning, she had an address. It led not to an office, but to St. Agnes Public Hospital. The building sat on the east side of the city, old enough for the bricks to look tired. Fluorescent lights flickered above the emergency entrance. A vending machine hummed beside sleeping relatives. Near the oncology wing, Elena found Min at a billing window, still in the same damp shoes. I paid last month, he said. The clerk did not look up. That covered medication support, not the infusion chair fee. My sister cannot receive the medicine without the chair. I understand, sir. But the chair is billed separately. Min pressed 2 fingers against the bridge of his nose. Behind him, a young woman sat under a faded blanket, her hair tied with a blue scarf. She had Min's eyes, but hers still held a softness his had learned to hide. Ann Min, she said gently. Let it go for tonight. He turned at once. I'll fix it, Ling. Elena stopped a few steps away. Lin noticed her first. Min followed her gaze and stiffened. Miss Hart. I didn't come with security, Elena said. That makes it worse. A nurse rolled a cart between them. Down the hall, a child coughed until the sound broke into crying. Elena looked at the billing window, then at Lin's blanket, then at Min's hand gripping a folder until the paper bent. I can have this handled. Min's face closed. No, you do not know what I am offering. I know enough. I need you to continue helping us, Elena said. Quietly. Under counsel. I can make sure your sister's treatment is not interrupted while this is reviewed. Lin looked from Elena to Min. Ming did not. So that is the price? It is not a price. It is protection. Protection always sounds clean when it comes from people who can afford it. The words landed harder than Elena expected. She had negotiated with senators, regulators, hostile board members. Yet under the weak hospital light, facing a courier in wet shoes, she felt unprepared. I am trying to keep you safe, she said. No, you are trying to keep the truth contained. Lin reached for his sleeve. On. The hard line of him softened immediately, but only toward her. Lin gave Elena a tired smile. He gets rude when he is scared. I am not scared, Min said. Lin's smile faded. You have been scared since you were 19. The hallway quieted around that sentence. Lynn pulled a clear plastic envelope from her treatment bag. Inside was a yellowed hospital invoice, folded so many times the creases had turned white. She should understand why you hate paperwork, Lynn said. Min reached for it, but Lynn handed it to Elena. The invoice was from 12 years ago. Emergency pediatric surgery. Outstanding balance transferred to private charity payment. At the bottom, where the guarantor line should have been, someone had signed only one letter. Isaac. Elena stared at it. A memory touched her. Rain against a hospital awning. A boy asleep on the floor beside muddy sneakers. A surgeon saying the family was short. The number on the bill smaller than the cost of doing nothing. She had been 29 then, newly appointed to her father's foundation board, still believing quiet kindness could stay quiet forever. Min watched her face. You recognize it? Elena folded the invoice carefully. I recognize the hospital format. It was not a lie. It was not enough truth either. Min took the envelope back. A woman paid it. We never found her. Lynn touched the blue scarf at her neck. He kept the receipt because he thought if he ever met her, he would prove he did not waste what she saved. Lynn, Min warned. No, she said. You keep saving systems that hate you, and then you pretend it is not because someone once saved us. Elena looked at him differently. What system did you save? Min sat beside Lynn, the folder across his knees. 12 years ago, I was a student intern on a verification project. Not Hartwell directly, a contractor. We were building a module to prove whether a clinical report came from its source file or had been altered later. Elena remembered the legacy account. The dead path. The old architecture Vanessa had dismissed as messy. What happened? A hospital partner submitted a corrupted batch. The logs showed a senior engineer pushed a patch after approval hours. I reported it. And? They said I tampered with the logs to hide my own mistake. Lynn looked down. I had no lawyer, Min said. No family name. No one inside. They offered me a statement to sign. If I admitted carelessness, they would not press charges. Did you sign? He looked at Elena. No. There was no pride in it. Only the cost. They blacklisted me anyway. I lost the internship, my scholarship, everything. After that, I delivered files for people who got to keep their offices. The hospital speaker crackled overhead, calling a doctor to another floor. Elena stood with the old invoice still bright in her mind. The skill had not vanished. The world had pushed it into a raincoat and called it unqualified. Min rose. I will help find the truth, he said. But I will not be paid to be quiet. And I will not let your lawyers write my sentences for me. Elena nodded slowly. It was the first honest agreement between them. As she turned to leave, Lynn spoke again. Miss Hart? Elena looked back. If you find the woman who signed that invoice, Lynn said, tell her I lived. Elena could not answer right away. Outside St. Agnes, the rain had stopped, but Elena sat in her car for a long time before starting the engine, because the case against her was no longer only about forged data, dead accounts, or a boardroom trap. It was about what happened to people who told the truth when no one powerful needed them anymore. Elena did not bring Min back through the main lobby. At 6:12 the next morning, while news vans gathered outside Hartwell's front entrance, a black company car stopped beside the service ramp behind the research annex. Min stepped out in a borrowed hospital coat, one sleeve hanging past his wrist. Elena waited near the freight elevator with 2 security badges. 1 floor, she said. 1 workstation. No copying. No external messages. You tell me what you see, and my counsel verifies it. Min looked at the badge but did not take it. And if what I see affects patients? It goes to legal first. That means it waits. That means it survives court. No, Min said. Sometimes it dies in a folder with a polite label. Elena's face tightened. The night at St. Agnes had not softened him. It had made the distance clearer. She could offer access, lawyers, protection. Min kept hearing silence. You have 1 hour, she said. Only then did he take the badge. They entered a records room used for patient assistance audits. An analyst opened the dashboard in redacted mode. Patient identification codes, support codes, shipment dates, infusion reimbursements, and death status markers. Min did not begin with the 43 deaths. He began with the living shipments. Filter Luminex 43 support cases with medication shipment after recorded death. The analyst frowned. That should return none. Then it will be quick. The query ran. 1 result appeared. LX43, 1187. The patient marked as dead in the mortality summary had received a refrigerated medication shipment 9 days after the recorded death date. That could be a billing delay, the analyst said. Not for cold-chain biologics, Min replied. Shipping labels are generated only after pharmacy release. If the patient was dead, the release would be blocked. Elena leaned over the screen. Open shipment record. A cold-chain courier entry appeared. Container temperature, route number, pharmacy release time, delivery confirmation, recipient code. The signature was redacted, but the delivery status was clear. Delivered. 9 days after death. One false signature could be called a technical issue. A changed classification could be called medical judgment. But medicine delivered to a dead patient was different. It was either fraud, error, or proof that the mortality list had been used like a stage prop. Min pointed to the support code. Open reimbursement. The record showed an infusion chair payment processed by Hartwell's Patient Assistance Fund 2 days after the shipment. Elena's mind flashed back to St. Agnes. The billing window, Lynn's faded blanket, the absurd cruelty of a chair fee billed separately from medicine. This time, the chair fee was not a burden. It was evidence. She was treated, Elena said. Min noticed the word. She. Elena looked at the redacted identification code. I guessed. Min did not challenge it. He pointed to a small mark beside the reimbursement code. That is a manual exception. The analyst opened the note. Charity continuation approved. Do not interrupt infusion cycle. No name appeared beneath it. Only a department code. Finance review. Elena went still. Bannis's division. Before anyone could speak, Elena's phone buzzed. A message from General Counsel. Board wants statement by noon. Vanessa recommends controlled resignation language. Elena turned the phone face down. Min saw it. They are still writing your ending. My ending affects 15,000 employees. And how many patients? The question was quiet. That made it worse. Elena stepped away from the desk. If we release partial information now, the company collapses before we know what is true. Trials stop, shipments freeze. People who need Luminex 43 may lose access overnight. If you hide patient evidence, the people without private doctors lose first. I am not hiding it. You are delaying it where only lawyers can see it. Elena faced him. You think truth is clean, because you have never had to keep a company alive while telling it. Min's eyes hardened. I think truth gets dirty when powerful people decide who is ready to hear it. The analyst pretended not to listen. Then a printer at the side station woke with a sudden click. Everyone turned. The analyst pulled a single sheet from the tray. It was an automated exception report from the patient assistance system triggered by Elena's query. At the bottom was a routing history. The patient's death status had been imported from the mortality summary. 6 hours later, the assistance system rejected it because active treatment payments still existed. Someone had overridden the rejection manually. The override note read, Status conflict accepted. Align with executive mortality package. Min pointed at the phrase, executive mortality package. That is not medical language. Elena's voice was low. It is board language. The analyst opened routing history. The override had been approved from a finance terminal at 11:46 at night, 3 nights earlier. The user identification code was masked by a group credential, but the workstation location was not. Finance floor, North Corridor, Office Cluster K, Vanessa's floor. Not Vanessa's name. Not proof, but close enough that Elena felt the air change. Min did not let the moment become accusation. Check other patient identification codes for status conflict. The analyst ran the query. 5 more appeared. Not all listed as dead. Some had adverse events reclassified. Some had active assistance payments after supposed trial withdrawal. Each one carried the same phrase, align with executive mortality package. Elena read the repeated words until they stopped looking like language and began looking like a machine built to turn people into leverage. What is the purpose? She asked. Min answered without looking away from the screen. To make the mortality summary shocking enough to remove you, but messy enough that the real clinical question gets buried under panic. And the drug? I don't know yet. That honesty mattered. He did not reach for certainty he did not have. The drug may be dangerous, he said, or it may be imperfect and someone is using the chaos. But these records behave more like financial pressure than medical truth. Elena remembered Vanessa's phrases. Containment. Single point of accountability. Market confidence. She picked up her phone and called General Counsel. "Cancel any resignation language," she said. A pause. "No, not delayed, canceled." Another pause. "Preserve every support record, shipment record, reimbursement note, and finance override from the last 6 months." Min's jaw tightened at the silence around public disclosure, but he said nothing. The second battle between them had not ended. It had only found its shape. Elena wanted the truth controlled until it could survive. Min wanted the truth free before it could be buried. On the monitor, LX43, 1187 remained highlighted in pale blue. A patient declared dead by one system, treated as living by another, and useful to someone powerful enough to bend both. Elena stared at the identification code. "Find out if LX43, 1187 is alive," she said. The analyst looked nervous. "That requires contacting the trial site." "Then contact them." Min glanced at her. For the first time that morning, there was something almost like approval in his expression. Not trust. Not yet. But enough to keep going. By late morning, Hartwell had given Min a new name, unauthorized courier with unknown motives. The internal bulletin included the leaked boardroom image, Min soaked from the rain holding the crushed box while security gripped his arm. It did not show the code, the frozen report package, or the shipment record proving one supposedly dead patient was still being treated. By noon, employees had seen it. By 12:30 in the afternoon, a financial blog had framed it as evidence that Elena Hart had lost control. By 1 in the afternoon, outside investors were demanding answers. Vanessa had not sent the emails herself. She did not need to. In the emergency board session, Vanessa placed a thin folder in front of the directors. "We have an additional problem," she said. Elena did not look at the folder. "If this is about Min Tran, say his name." Vanessa gave a small nod. Min Tran, age 31. Current occupation, independent courier. Prior record, removed from a clinical data contract. The words settled over the table. Verification log manipulation. It sounded precise. It sounded official. It sounded like the kind of phrase that did not need to raise its voice. Elena felt the memory of St. Agnes Public Hospital rise in her throat. Min at the billing window. Lynn under the faded blanket. The old invoice with one letter on the guarantor line. The letter E. Vanessa opened the folder. 12 years ago, Mr. Tran was an intern on a contractor project connected to early clinical verification architecture. The project reported a corrupted batch, unauthorized log access, and suspected tampering. Mr. Tran was removed shortly afterward. A director leaned back. "Are you telling us the courier has a history with the same kind of system he is now interpreting?" "I am telling you," Vanessa said, "that the only person pushing this alternate theory is a man previously linked to log tampering in a medical data environment." General Counsel looked toward Elena. "This creates credibility concerns." Elena finally opened the folder. The first page was a summary. No original statements, no contractor hearing transcript, no record of Min refusing to sign an admission, just a clean paragraph, written by someone who knew how to make uncertainty look like guilt. Elena's eyes stopped on one line. Subject declined corrective statement. She knew what that meant now. He had refused to confess. Vanessa's voice softened. "Elena, I understand why you want to believe him. He gave you a way to breathe last night, but we cannot let desperation make us vulnerable to someone with a grievance." The room heard concern. Elena heard construction. Vanessa was building a shape around Min. Poor, unauthorized, bitter, technically familiar enough to be dangerous, but not reputable enough to be believed. The first attack had made him small. The second was making him dirty. Across the city, Min saw the bulletin on someone else's phone. He was standing outside Lynn's infusion room, arguing with an insurance coordinator who would not meet his eyes. "Her support code was active yesterday," he said. The coordinator tapped her keyboard. "It is under eligibility review." "Why?" "I cannot disclose internal review criteria. She is already scheduled." "I understand." "No," Min said too sharply. "You are saying the word understand because you are not allowed to say the word no." The coordinator looked past him. Lynn called from inside the room. "I'm Min." He turned immediately. She was sitting in the chair now, the one he had nearly failed to pay for the night before. The tube had not yet been connected. A nurse stood beside her with the medication tray covered. Lynn held up her phone. The image of Min in the boardroom filled the screen. Under it, a caption read, "Disgraced data worker turned courier involved in Hartwell crisis." Min took one step toward her, then stopped. He did not want to touch the phone. Ling read his face. They found the old file. He forced a laugh that had no humor in it. They found the version that helps them. The nurse looked uncomfortable. "I am sorry. Until the review clears, I cannot start the infusion." Min stared at the medication tray. "What review?" The coordinator answered from the doorway. "Insurance support and charitable eligibility are being re-verified." Lin closed her eyes. Min understood the message before anyone said it aloud. "Stop, or your sister becomes paperwork." At Hartwell, Elena was beginning to understand it too. Her assistant entered the boardroom and whispered that St. Agnes had called about Lin Tran's support status. Elena stood so quickly her chair struck the glass wall behind her. Vanessa looked up. "Is something wrong?" Elena held her gaze. "You touched his sister's treatment." Vanessa did not blink. "I have no idea what you mean. Her eligibility review was triggered within an hour of your bulletin. Patient support reviews are automatic during legal risk events. Do not make cruelty sound automatic." The boardroom went silent. For the first time, Vanessa's expression cooled beyond politeness. "You are emotionally compromised." "No," Elena said. "I am learning who keeps reaching for pressure points." Vanessa closed the folder. "And I am trying to prevent the chief executive officer of Hartwell Biologics from handing a federal crisis to a man with a documented history of data misconduct." The line worked. Elena saw it move through the directors, not because they trusted Vanessa fully, but because fear liked official documents. Fear liked old files. Fear liked the comfort of believing a poor man had brought danger in from outside, instead of admitting danger had been sitting at their own table. Elena picked up Min's file again. The page looked damning. It also looked incomplete. That was worse. An incomplete truth could still wound like a full lie. She called Min from the hallway outside the boardroom. He answered on the fourth ring. "Did you know they would use it?" she asked. His silence was answer enough. "Elena," he said. And it was the first time he used her name without a title. "They always use it. Why did you not tell me everything?" "Because, when people like you hear a record exists, you stop hearing the person." She wanted to deny it. She could not. Behind her, through the glass, Vanessa was already speaking to the directors again. Min's voice came through the phone, lower now. "If Lin loses treatment because I helped you, I will walk away." Elena closed her eyes. "If you walk away, they win. If I stay and she pays, what exactly did I win?" There was no clean answer. That was Vanessa's second attack working exactly as intended. It did not need to prove Min was guilty. It only had to make helping Elena cost him more than silence. Elena looked back into the boardroom. Vanessa sat perfectly still, hands folded over the folder that held Min's ruined past. For the first time, Elena felt the real danger of her enemy. Vanessa did not simply erase evidence. She made the truth painful enough that honest people would abandon it themselves. Elena found Min in the underground parking level beneath St. Agnes. He was sitting on the concrete curb beside the payment machine, elbows on his knees, phone in one hand, Lin's treatment folder in the other. Above him, a fluorescent light flickered with a tired buzzing sound. Cars passed behind him, but he did not look up until Elena's heels stopped in front of him. "You should not be here," he said. "I restored Lin's treatment support." His face did not change. "Did you restore it because it was wrong to suspend it, or because you still need me?" The question cut too cleanly. Elena came prepared with phrases about legal risk, patient continuity, market collapse, and regulatory sequence. Under the parking garage lights, they sounded like expensive words wrapped around fear. Min told her Vanessa knew she was burying the truth, while Elena still believed she was protecting it. Elena answered that 15,000 employees, ongoing trials in 6 countries, and patients dependent on Luminex 43 could all be harmed by panic. Min said people were already being harmed. Only Elena knew them as categories instead of as patients arguing over a chair fee. She had built patient access programs. She had stood on stages and promised compassion. But the machinery between a promise and a hospital chair had become so layered that suffering could be denied by a drop-down menu. "I want you under counsel," she said. "Protected, recorded, properly authorized. You want me contained. I want the evidence admissible. You want the story controlled. I want the truth to survive." Min turned toward her fully, then stopped deciding where it is allowed to breathe. Elena took a sealed envelope from her bag. She placed it on the curb between them. "What is that?" he asked. "A consulting agreement. Temporary. Independent. It gives you legal standing to review materials, protects you from trespass claims, and guarantees Lynn's treatment support while the investigation continues." Min stared at the envelope. "Guarantees?" "Yes. For how long?" "Until the internal review is complete." He laughed once. "There it is." "What?" "The leash." Elena's jaw tightened. "That is not fair. Neither is tying my sister's medicine to my usefulness." Elena argued that direct contact with patients, reporters, or regulators could ruin the investigation before they found who inside finance had changed the records. Min answered that signing the agreement would let Hartwell decide which truth was safe enough to leave the building. When she said Hartwell was not one person, he said it had taken only one person to stop Lynn's treatment. She picked up the envelope and looked at the clause herself. It was standard, sensible, defensible, the kind of language she had approved 100 times without hearing the door close inside it. "I can revise it," she said. Min stood. "That is still you deciding how much air I get." He started toward the elevator. Elena rose behind him. "If you walk away now, Vanessa wins." He stopped but did not turn. "If I stay on your terms," she already did. Elena had no answer. Min turned then, and for the first time, his anger looked less like defiance than grief. 12 years ago, I refused to sign a statement that made a lie look orderly. I lost school, work, everything. Last night, I watched you look at my file and almost do the same thing everyone else did. I did not. You wanted not to. The words were worse because they were fair. Elena looked at him in the harsh garage light and saw the shape of her own failure. She had not created Vanessa's trap, but she had created a company where traps could hide behind process, where a man like Min could be useful for 20 minutes and disposable the moment his past became inconvenient. "What do you want?" she asked. "Written protection for Lynn that does not depend on me. Full preservation of patient assistance records. Independent ethics counsel, not Hartwell counsel. And if we confirm a living patient was listed as dead, that patient gets told before your board does." Elena stared at him. "That could destroy the company." "No," Min said. "It could tell you whether the company deserves to survive." The elevator doors opened behind him. This time, Elena did not stop him. Min stepped inside, still holding the unsigned agreement. Before the doors closed, he placed it on the floor between them. "You want my help," he said. "Stop trying to own it." The doors shut. Elena stood alone in the parking level, the envelope at her feet. Above her, Hartwell's tower rose into the city like a monument to control. For the first time in her life, Elena wondered whether the building her father had left her was not only under attack from the outside, maybe it had been teaching good people to speak softly around bad systems for years. Min did not return to Hartwell through Elena. He returned through the basement archive at dawn, wearing the same courier jacket everyone now recognized from the leaked photograph. The badge Elena had given him no longer worked at the research annex. That did not surprise him. Powerful buildings had a way of locking doors before admitting they were afraid. He entered with a night maintenance crew moving boxes into cold storage. No one looked twice at a man carrying labels. The archive level was colder than the rest of Hartwell. Rows of sealed cabinets held retired server images, consent forms, and backup media no one wanted until something went wrong. Someone had already tried to reach the frozen report package, and Min knew the next steps: unavailable logs, retention rules, corrupted backups, and professional explanations for every missing fingerprint. He found the cabinet marked Legacy Verification Protocol from an archive index he had memorized. The cabinet needed 2 approvals. Min had none, but a nearby maintenance terminal showed storage seal events, media pulls, and backup temperature alarms. That was enough. A hidden tray event showed the Luminex 43 mortality package had been pulled, warmed, resealed, and returned 3 nights earlier under a finance group credential. Min connected his old one-way hardware token, a device that could not edit files or open patient names. It could only record the seal chain exactly as displayed. Because some part of him had always known the day might come when a clean copy of the truth mattered more than permission. He connected the token to the maintenance terminal. The screen blinked once. Recording seal chain. Behind him, the archive door clicked. Min turned. A red light appeared above the corner camera. It had been dark when he entered. Now, it was recording. A voice came through the ceiling speaker. "Step away from the terminal." Two security guards entered first. Vanessa followed them, wrapped in a cream coat, her face composed enough to make the cold room feel staged. "Mr. Tran," she said, "I was hoping Elena was wrong about you." Min removed his hands from the keyboard. "I did not access patient data. You accessed a restricted archive terminal. It records storage events. You connected an external device. A one-way token. It cannot pull names." Vanessa looked at the small device, as if it were a knife. "Security will decide that." The guards took the token. Min did not resist. He looked at the terminal, where the last line still glowed. "Seal chain captured." Vanessa noticed his eyes move. "Delete the session," she told the guard. The guard reached for the keyboard. Min spoke sharply. "If you delete it, the audit record will show manual destruction after capture." The guard stopped. Vanessa smiled. "Then we will preserve it as evidence of theft." By 7 in the morning, the video reached Elena. It showed Min entering restricted archive storage, attaching the device, and being stopped by security. It did not show his explanation, the maintenance screen, or the seal chain. A man once accused of log tampering had been caught with external hardware in an archive room. It was too neat. That did not make it false. He did not look like a thief. He looked like someone who had expected to be misunderstood and came anyway. "Where is he?" "Security holding. Police are being notified." "No police yet." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Elena, no police until I speak with him. That would be inappropriate. Many things have become inappropriate since last night." Vanessa stepped closer to the desk. "If you protect him now, you tie yourself to his conduct. The board will not survive that. You will not survive that." Elena looked at the frozen image. Min's hand hovered near the token. His mouth was open, probably explaining. The camera had not cared. "What was on the device?" she asked. "We are treating it as suspected data extraction." "That is not an answer." "It is the answer legal will use." Elena stood. For the first time, Vanessa's face tightened. In security holding, Min sat alone at a metal table. His courier jacket hung over the back of a chair. Without it, he looked younger and more exhausted, as if the night had taken years from him and then returned them badly. Elena entered with no lawyers. Min looked up. "You saw the video?" "Yes." "And?" She hated the pause before her answer. "I need to know why you went there." He closed his eyes for a moment. "There it is." "What?" "The place where you decide whether I am useful or guilty." "That is not fair." "No, it is familiar." Elena sat across from him. "Then make it unfamiliar. Tell me." Min leaned back. His voice was flat now, almost empty. "I found a storage seal event. The Luminex 43 mortality package was pulled from cold archive 3 nights ago, warmed, resealed, and returned under a finance group credential. The token captured the seal chain. No patient names. No clinical data. Just proof the archive copy was handled before the boardroom report appeared." Elena felt the room tilt. "Why not tell me?" "I tried to ask for conditions. You brought me a cage." Vanessa brought pressure. "Someone was already cleaning the source, so I protected what I could. You broke into restricted storage. I entered a room your company built to hide the truth behind access levels." Elena flinched. Min saw it and looked away. "I did the wrong thing for the right reason," he said. "That is enough for them to bury me." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Elena's phone buzzed. A news alert lit the screen. "Disgraced courier detained after suspected theft of Hartwell patient data." Below it was the video. Min saw it too. His face did not change. That made it worse. Elena stood slowly. "I have to review the token. They will say you are protecting me. Maybe I am." He looked at her then. Really looked. "Do not protect me because you feel guilty. I am not sure guilt is the wrong place to begin." Outside the room, footsteps gathered. Lawyers. Security. Maybe Vanessa. Elena opened the door, then stopped. "Ming," he looked up. "For what it is worth, I do not think you stole patient data." The smallest change crossed his face. Not relief, not forgiveness. Only pain, because belief had arrived after the accusation, not before. "That is what everyone says," he replied, "right before they ask me to prove it." By 3 in the afternoon, Vanessa stopped defending herself and began defending Hartwell. In the lobby, beside the board chair and Dr. Adrian Bell, She described Min as an unauthorized former data contractor who had entered restricted archive storage and connected an external device to company equipment. She called it a serious patient data security incident. When a reporter asked if information had been stolen, Vanessa only said they were still investigating. Dr. Bell then made innocence sound impossible. He said archive event chains could be fabricated, one-way tokens could not be trusted outside approved custody, and evidence touched by a non-credentialed individual was legally and technically compromised. Elena read the resolution alone. If she fought it, she looked like a desperate executive protecting a disgraced courier. If she accepted it, Vanessa would control the evidence by morning. General Counsel stood near the door. "Elena," he said quietly, "we may not have enough." Enough truth? Enough admissible truth. That was the trap. Truth had been found. Then it had been touched, filmed, questioned, and poisoned before it could reach the room where it mattered. In security holding, Min watched Vanessa's press conference on a muted wall screen. The captions moved beneath her face. Unauthorized, external device, patient data, cooperating fully. A guard placed his belongings on the table: phone, wallet, hospital folder, and the clear plastic envelope with the old invoice from St. Agnes. Min opened the envelope. At the bottom of the faded invoice, the letter E waited on the guarantor line. For 12 years, that letter had meant only one thing to him. Someone had saved Lynn and disappeared. Now it meant something else. A payment trail, a credential event, a witness record outside Hartwell. He remembered the structure of the invoice: private charity payment, hospital case number, guarantor authorization. If the payment had gone through Hartwell's old foundation gateway, it might still contain metadata showing how Elena's real approval looked. Not pasted, not attached, authenticated. Min stood and pressed the invoice against the glass. "I need to get to St. Agnes." The guard laughed. "You are not going anywhere." "Then call Elena." The guard did not move. Min kept the invoice raised. "Tell her the letter E has metadata." The message reached Elena 17 minutes later. She understood before the second reading. The old invoice was not only memory. It might be the clean comparison they needed. Elena's real credential approval from 12 years ago against the fake approval Vanessa had used to destroy her. By 7 in the evening, Elena and Min reached the basement records office at St. Agnes Public Hospital. Mrs. Alvarez, the silver-haired records clerk, remembered Lynn and asked for the old case number. The invoice had faded. Only SAG-9 remained. Then Elena remembered the nurse reading it aloud while she signed, SAG-9174C. The record appeared. Lynn Tran. Emergency pediatric surgery. Charity payment approved. External foundation gateway. Guarantor authorization stored. Min looked at Elena and understood. She had paid for Lynn's surgery 12 years earlier. Mrs. Alvarez took them to the microfilm room, found the payment record, printed a certified copy, and pressed a raised hospital seal into the paper. The metadata showed active credential verification, a foundation gateway route, and a second hospital finance witness. Then one more audit note appeared. Reviewer initials: VK. Vanessa Klein had reviewed the old framework years before. At 11:20 in the evening, Elena and Min left St. Agnes with the certified record sealed in a hospital envelope. The board vote was 40 minutes away. Vanessa had cameras, a false expert, a midnight resolution, and most of the directors already afraid. Min had an old invoice, a hospital seal, and the one letter that had once saved his sister. For the first time all day, that felt like enough to start a fight. At 11:57 at night, the boardroom on the 49th floor looked almost exactly as it had the night before. Black leather chairs, glass walls, and the city shining beyond them. But now the screen showed an emergency resolution to remove Elena Hart as Chief Executive Officer, appoint Vanessa Klein as Interim Crisis Executive, and route all investigative coordination through finance. The board chair prepared to call the vote. Then Elena entered with Min behind her, holding the sealed hospital envelope from St. Agnes. Vanessa rose at once, calling it compromise judgment. Min placed the envelope on the table and stepped back. Elena remained standing. She admitted that she had confused control with responsibility, accepted clean summaries too easily, and almost treated Min as a threat before treating him as a witness. Then she opened the envelope. "This is a certified record from St. Agnes Public Hospital," Elena said. It contains an authenticated foundation payment with an external hospital witness line outside Hartwell's system. Vanessa gave a soft laugh. A charity invoice has nothing to do with a mortality report. It does, Min said. You have already contaminated enough evidence, Mr. Tran. Min did not react. The forged mortality approval used against Elena was an attached image. No live credential event, no second witness, no external confirmation. This hospital record shows what Elena's real approval looked like in the same early identity framework. Dr. Bell leaned forward. That comparison is technically weak. Old charity systems and regulated mortality systems are not equivalent. Min looked at him. Then why did your report claim old event chains could not be independently verified? Bell paused. Min placed the certified record beside the board packet. St. Agnes verified this one. Their timestamp, foundation gateway route, credential event, and hospital finance witness all match. Your statement was wrong. Bell adjusted his glasses. I was speaking generally. Elena looked at the board chair. Ask Dr. Bell who paid for his review. Vanessa said quickly. That is irrelevant. Elena slid another page forward. Dr. Bell's consulting firm received a rush payment this afternoon through Northbridge Capital Advisory. Several directors looked up. Northbridge was the investment group already positioned to profit if Hartwell's stock collapsed. Elena continued. Northbridge also holds a short position tied to a leadership crisis at Hartwell. Bell's calm began to thin. Vanessa said. This is a distraction. No, Min said. This is the pattern. The board secretary opened the comparison file on the main screen. Two approval paths appeared side by side. On the left, the forged mortality approval. Attached image. Legacy archive account. No witness. No live credential. On the right, the St. Agnes Foundation payment. Active credential verified. Foundation gateway. Second, hospital finance witness. External timestamp. Min pointed to the missing witness line. The person who built the fake approval knew how to imitate the shape of Elena's authority, but not how to create a living approval trail outside Hartwell. Elena placed the audit note on the table. Unless that person had reviewed the old framework before. The screen changed. Reviewer initials, VK, Vanessa Klein. Vanessa did not blink. Those initials could belong to anyone. Elena nodded. So we pulled the audit roster. The roster appeared. Vanessa Klein. Foundation Gateway Review. The board chair turned toward her. Did you review this system? Vanessa's voice remained level. I reviewed hundreds of systems. And learned which details to imitate, Min said, and which details you could leave out. Vanessa turned on him. You entered restricted storage. You connected an outside device. You have a prior accusation of log tampering. Every word you say is self-serving. For the first time, Min stepped closer to the table. 12 years ago, I refused to sign a lie written for me. Tonight, I am refusing again. Vanessa opened her mouth. Elena raised a hand. There is one more witness. The screen shifted to a video call. A woman appeared in a hospital room, wearing a knit cap, with an infusion line taped to her wrist. Beside her sat a trial site coordinator. The board secretary read the patient identification code, LX 43 1187. A director whispered, "That patient is listed as deceased." The woman gave a tired smile. I have been called difficult to classify before. Dead is new. No one laughed. The trial site coordinator spoke next. She has received continuous Luminex 43 treatment. Her death status in the executive mortality package is false. Our site submitted a status conflict rejection. It was overridden above site level. Elena looked at Vanessa. Through finance review. The coordinator nodded. That is what the routing shows. Vanessa's face changed at last. Not fear, calculation. You are all being manipulated, she said. A dying patient, a disgraced courier, and a chief executive officer desperate to keep power are rewriting a federal investigation in real time. Elena walked to the head of the table. No, I am giving up the power to control it. She turned to the board. Freeze the vote. Remove finance from evidence handling. Notify regulators directly. Give the external ethics panel full access. Notify every affected patient before market open. General counsel stared at her. That could collapse the stock. Then let the market see what we are fixing. Vanessa's voice dropped. You will destroy your father's company. Elena looked at the emergency resolution on the screen. My father did not build this company so finance could turn patients into leverage. Min placed the old invoice beside the board packet. And he did not build it so Truth needed permission from the people hiding it. The board chair slowly removed his glasses. Miss Klein, until this is reviewed, you are suspended from all finance, evidence, and compliance functions. The words landed quietly. That made them heavier. Vanessa looked around the table, searching for the fear she had used all night. But fear had changed direction. Dr. Bell closed his folder. Too late. The vote to remove Miss Hart is suspended pending external review, the board chair said. Elena did not look relieved. No, she said, not enough. The room stilled. I will remain only under external ethics supervision until the first patient notification is complete, and Min Tran will be listed as a protected witness, not a suspect. Vanessa whispered. You cannot do that. Elena looked at her. I should have done it sooner. Outside the glass walls, midnight passed over the city. Inside the boardroom, the red resolution vanished from the screen. In its place appeared a new line. External patient truth review. Initiated. For the first time in 48 hours, the room was not silent because of fear. It was silent because the lie had finally run out of places to stand. 3 weeks later, the boardroom on the 49th floor was full again. This time, there was no red accusation, no emergency resolution, and no resignation folder. The external ethics panel read its findings. The mortality package had been manipulated. Elena's approval had not been authenticated. Finance had improperly overridden patient status conflicts. Vanessa Klein had been suspended pending federal referral, and Dr. Adrian Bell's report had been withdrawn. The panel chair turned to Min. Mr. Tran, your actions preserve material evidence. You are no longer listed as a suspect in any Hartwell matter. Your prior contractor record will be formally reopened. Elena then gave him a public correction. I treated your truth like a risk before I treated it like evidence. Hartwell did that to you 12 years ago. I almost did it again. Min did not offer dramatic forgiveness. What began in his face was harder and more lasting. Respect. After the meeting, Elena found Min in the hallway outside the patient records archive. He was looking through the glass at the shelves where new copies of trial documents were being sealed under external supervision. Every cabinet now required an independent witness log. Every patient status conflict had to be reviewed outside finance. Elena held out a clear protective sleeve. Inside was the old St. Agnes invoice. The letter E sat at the bottom, faded but still visible. I had it restored, she said. The certified copy stays with the panel. This one belongs to you. Min did not take it at first. For 12 years, he said, I thought this was proof that a stranger saved my sister. It was not meant to be proof of anything. That is why it mattered. Elena looked down. I remembered you after St. Agnes, not your name. Just a boy on the floor holding shoes that were too wet for a hospital hallway. I told myself quiet help was enough. Min finally took the sleeve. Sometimes it is. Then, he looked through the glass at the archive. But quiet harm hides better. Elena nodded. I know that now. Lynn arrived a moment later, walking slowly but without the faded blanket. Her blue scarf had been replaced by a bright one she had chosen herself. She hugged Min first, then turned to Elena. I was told I am officially alive in every system now. Elena almost smiled. That should never have needed confirmation. Lynn touched the invoice through the sleeve. I used to ask him what E stood for. What did he say? Elena asked. Enough, Lynn said. Min looked away, but not quickly enough to hide the emotion in his face. 6 months later, Hartwell Biologics opened the Patient Truth Audit Office on the ground floor, not the executive level. Elena insisted on that. Patients entered through the front door, not through legal referral. They could request their own trial records, see classification changes, challenge status conflicts, and speak to an advocate who did not report to finance. On the first morning, Min arrived before anyone else. His name was printed on the glass wall beside the entrance. Min Tran, Director of Patient Evidence Integrity. He stood there for a long moment, reading it as if checking for a mistake. Elena walked up beside him. Too formal? She asked. Very. Accurate? He looked through the glass at the room beyond. Desks, monitors, patient chairs. A wall display showing the first audit queue. No red warnings. No hidden codes. No locked corridor where Truth had to ask permission. On the main screen, a line appeared. Patient Truth Audit. Approved. Min thought of the night he had entered the boardroom, soaked from the rain, holding a crushed box against his chest while powerful people decided he did not belong. Now, the same company had placed his name where patients could see it. Lynn came in carrying coffee. She looked at the screen, then at Min. Not bad for a courier. He gave her a look. She smiled. Elena watched them, then turned toward the first patient arriving at the door. An older man with a folder pressed against his chest and his daughter holding his arm. He stopped when he saw the glass wall, the desks, the screen, and Min standing inside instead of behind a service counter. "I was told someone here could explain why my trial record changed," the man said. Min walked to the door and opened it himself. "Yes, sir," he said. "We can start there." The man stepped inside. No security guard stopped him. No lawyer asked him to wait. No one told him the system was too complicated to question. Elena stood back and watched Min guide him to a chair. For years, Hartwell had measured compassion through programs, approvals, and reports. Now, for the first time, it had built a room where a patient could walk in and ask why their own truth had been edited. On the wall, beneath the main screen, Elena had placed a small framed copy of the old St. Agnes invoice. Not the certified record. Not the evidence version. Just the faded copy with one letter at the bottom. Eason. Min saw it before sitting down. He looked at Elena. She did not explain. He did not need her to. On the screen above them, the first case file opened. No red accusation flashed. No resignation waited. No one's name was being buried behind a code. The older man opened his folder with shaking hands. Min did not rush him. He waited until the daughter found the page she feared most, then turned the monitor so both of them could see. For once, the system did not speak over the patient. It listened first. Min looked at the older man's folder and remembered the crushed box he had once carried into the boardroom. Back then, every powerful person in the room had treated paper as a weapon. Now, for the first time, the paper belonged to the patient holding it. It was not evidence against someone. It was a life asking to be read correctly. Only one line glowed in clear white letters. Patient Truth Audit. Approved. And this time, everyone in the room knew exactly whose truth they were there to protect.